we're gonna do Toronto's biggest sports heartbreaks today in our lifetimes. Okay, so we can't reference back beyond the year 2000.
Okay.
Like I think that our childhood memories, like that far back, are too. They're not real. That you didn't have the real perspective. Sports couldn't hurt you that way yet. Okay, so I'm gonna get into my honorable mentions, and then you guys tell me if I left something out that's from your list that would be in the honorable mentions that you don't think is like clearly in the top 4, or I'll just mention if you say, hey, you missed this, I'll be like, yeah, it's in the top 4. And you tell me if maybe you think any of these should be higher. And I will say there's a caveat to this. I have 2 thoughts on when I was putting together this list. One is I know that some of it is related to my age and how I was heartbroken. Like, again, this is personal to me.
Yeah, of course. That's why the 2013 Blue Jays are like at the tippy top of my list.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. So I didn't even have I had the 2013 Blue Jays in honorable mentions, but I didn't have I just had the 2013 season as like a overall heartbreaking thing. So I have it's relative to obviously my life, but also I put less of an impetus on the whole what was the ripple effect thing because
you're just like in the moment. How did we feel?
Yeah. Okay. So honorable mentions: Chris Bosh signs with Miami Heat and helps create the big 3 after not opening himself up to a trade and basically teasing Brian Colangelo, telling him that there was a chance of signing him when they had clearly made up their minds. In fact, had made a documentary about the 3 of them coming together.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's definitely honorable mention down the list.
Yeah, I have it at the bottom.
Yeah, great
Yeah,
job.
not on my Mount Rushmore.
All those amazing Chris Bosh moments as a Raptor, I'll never forget.
Yeah, I think it was more like the state of the fan base was always that, and also it was more, hey, you didn't trade him, and then you lost him.
What's your favorite Chris Bosh Raptors memory?
Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, continue.
Yeah. I was getting pummeled by Dwight Howard. Just absolutely hammered going, wow, that's what a really good player looks like. This one I should have probably had a little higher, but LeBron sweeps the Raptors in 2018, but it's most specifically Game 1.
I have Game 1 on there too. And honestly, if I put myself back in that moment, it feels like it needs to be higher. Because obviously we had no idea what was to come in 2019.
I got a lot of things on this list, buddy, so.
But that team had made a conference final before in the weirdest postseason run of all time. But it was LeBron, and it was the most beatable LeBron. But everybody was beating LeBron that year, and you couldn't even take a game off. And it was like, how many rebound attempts, tip-in attempts did they have at the end of game 1?
Well, JV had a wide. First of all, it was Fred that had a wide open look at the 3, and then JV had a perfect tip-in. And it was one of those games where this is going to overtime and you're dead. And that once they lost that game, that the series was over. The Raptors got completely beaten into submission. DeMar DeRozan was benched in the series.
Oh, yeah.
Dwayne Casey was getting yelled at by Masai Ujiri publicly, and I
feel like I think taking this out of like a higher ranking is as a direct result of them winning in 2019. Because I feel like if 2019 doesn't happen, we're not talking about honorable mention. I think you're doing the thing that you said you weren't going to do here.
No, because I have actually multiple other Raptors things above it. So.
I think. So that's the series where the singular moment where they actually played excellent in Game 3 in Cleveland, and LeBron hit that like absurd running to his
the end
left.
of Dwayne Casey.
Over the top.
Where Dane it's like, you can inbound it full court. Oh,
yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, we didn't pick him up full court.
The more heartbreaking one to me is when I thought they had a chance. When they won, the series was 2-2,
really,
and then it went to Cleveland,
and
they lost.
You thought we had a chance?
Of course, I thought we had a chance. I'm an idiot. Of course, I thought we had a chance.
Charles Barkley had the correct take.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. No, never forget
that Game 5 is one of the darkest Raptors memories.
Game 5.
Ever.
It's drinking a beer.
That's what I was gonna say. No, but Game 5.
They won by 80 in that game.
there were 2 hilarious moments for me in that game that I'll always remember. Number 1 is right away. Kyrie threw an alley-oop off the glass to LeBron, like it was an all-star game. That's how seriously they were taking the Raptors. But number 2 was there was a big contest that was run for flying in a bunch of Toronto fans into Cleveland. They kept having to bring up that they won that contest and showing the fans in their seats with their signs. And it was just like, it was over from the second LeBron showed up to the arena. Yeah. And those poor fans had to wait because part of the deal was that they got the flight back. It was like a private jet. Yeah. And so they were like, you have to stay here. You have to sit through the whole game. There's no leaving early and going to your hotel. You're getting on a flight at the end of this and thinking about how sad that flight would have been on the way home. Anyway, I have that as an honorable mention. Next, Curtis Joseph signing with the Detroit Red Wings.
This is this is way higher than this is on my Rushmore.
Okay, this is on your Rushmore?
100%.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't think it can be. But here's the quote when he signed with the Red Wings. I'm excited about the Red Wings organization. Obviously, we all saw what transpired not too long ago. Everybody knows Detroit is a great team. They're used to winning, and the future is now. Probably a year ago, I couldn't have seen myself playing anywhere else, but Detroit is a very unique opportunity. Everybody who plays there says the future of now, that's enticing. There's no guarantee that I'll go to Detroit and win the Stanley Cup, but I'd like to take the opportunity. End quote. Yeah, he...
Buddy, I'm stunned that this is just an honorable mention.
No,
this is the saddest I've ever been when
I was very sad. I told you I cried in a grocery store parking lot.
Of course. This destroyed me.
Yeah.
There was not many things that I can remember in my Toronto sports fandom in my life that made me more upset than Curtis Joseph leaving for the Red Wings. Like that truly, truly crushed me. And I'm not even a goalie guy.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
he
that's
was-
the
he
you're a
was the
goalie
reason-
guy, so
he was
that's
the reason
part of
they
the
won
reason you
everything.
cried.
They stunk those years, and he would just carry them to 2-1 wins every time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He
You're
was
the loser
everything.
franchise. You're always going to be the losers. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to this day, if I had to do my all-time athletes that had the greatest impact on me as a sports fan, Curtis Joseph is unquestionably in the top 4. Like he's my number 1 Leafs goalie. Like there's a part of me that's like Eddie is the
Wow,
one
he
who's
was there for us.
You know, like
He
those.
swallowed
I was
us
gonna say,
through.
you know, those. I'm not the dad, but I'm the one who stepped up or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Posts where
No,
it's
yeah.
where it's the stepdad with the kids, and people are like, "This is I'm not. Yeah, that's me. That was Ed Belfour in his leather jacket and standing next to me at my school play, and he's like, "Don't worry, son, I'll take care of you now," because he did shepherd it. He deserves more respect, but deep down, Cujo is always my guy. And in fact, I know you guys know this story. I don't think the audience does. When I first met Curtis Joseph, I called him Cujo, and it was the most. I almost threw up in the elevator with him on the way up. I was so embarrassed. I couldn't speak anymore.
Hey,
And
Cuj.
dude, I saw his face when I was like, "Hey, Cujo," and I just saw like he was here to do media, and he looked at me like, "Oh, this," and I went because he's expecting the next part of this to me be start gushing about what he
Yeah.
meant to me,
Yeah.
and instead I just climbed up, but it was just a quiet, sweaty elevator ride. It was
Yeah.
gross. Yeah, it was really
That's
gross.
horrible. That
So,
should
yeah.
be on your Mount Marsh.
It is. That's next. JD calls Cujo to his face. What's next? Jeremy Roenick goes bar down in overtime in 03.
Yeah. For there's a different thing with in-game or whatever.
But it was just that era of a team.
yeah.
You knew it was like
Kinda over.
done, and they were like a real wagon of a team, and they had their number. The Leafs stole game 1 of that series. McGillney had an empty net hat trick. But the big one there was like it was such a thrilling, exciting
Because
sequence.
Tucker.
Yeah.
On
And McGillney went
Kapanen,
and then Sundin
and
hit
it
the
just
bar.
was over.
Immediately. Yeah.
That was it. It was Sundin had a big opportunity. Tucker had just eviscerated
Hardest hit
Sammy
in
Kapanen.
maybe the hardest hit in NHL history.
Yeah. We were all cheering. This was at a time where we
enjoyed that.
We didn't know what was going on, all right? We didn't
We
know.
enjoyed those
Yeah.
things.
We were very happy seeing the Kapanen crawl the bench shots, all right? Can we just admit that it was a different time?
Yes. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was we all did. And then all of a sudden it was just over. And there's something about an overtime loss too where you're staring out into the abyss and you're like, something will change here.
His foot was in the crease.
Yeah, someone's gonna come from somewhere and say that this isn't right because I feel too badly. So I don't have that one too high.
No, I think
It's in honorable mentions.
yeah, like you could talk me into that being a Mount Rushmore, but I don't think it is.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, I have 2016, the Ryan Merritt game.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't even hear. Can I say something? I thought about not even putting this on the list because I do feel as though the more heartbreaking element was actually earlier in the series was when they had an opportunity to beat Trevor Bauer when he cut up his finger and they got
Right.
to the bullpen. But I do think that what sucks is the Blue Jays had Jose Bautista's bat flip moment the year before, and he was a god in the city, and we never thought anything was going to change. And then he hit us with the shaking in his boots comment,
Yeah,
and
that
then Merritt shut down an offense. And it was just sort of a, we know this is done moment. And Sammy, you and I were at that game together.
We saw game
And so-
4 and 5.
Yeah, but and there was a cool Jose chant in that game and an Eddie chant, so there was like an appreciation for these guys. So I wasn't as heartbroken, but I was just deflated knowing that this was all over and done with, and that we were like this chapter of the Blue Jays had closed.
I'll hear the argument for this one depending on where you've got some of the other, like if you're gonna do that,
No,
like
I'm
I feel
just
like
saying I have this here.
there's other recent, like even more recent Blue Jays heartbreaks than that I would put higher than that. Just because like not only were they down 3-1 in the series, but also like that
Yeah,
that offense had proven that it was no good, right?
Yeah,
like they
yeah.
just
Terrible.
barely
Yeah.
got into
that
the
was it.
playoffs, scoring no
Yeah.
runs at the end of the season. And yeah, okay, they shocked the world by beating the Rangers yet again in a postseason series.
That's
but,
why I didn't even know if I was going to include this on the
Well-
list, because I think that we were all just sort of happy to be here with this run.
yeah,
Like
it
this-
wasn't 2015.
No,
Yeah.
2015, I did just, we'll wait for that. But okay, so maybe I'm just
Okay,
taking
so
wrong merit.
so 2015's in like actually ranked, because I do think there's other
Yeah.
recent Blue Jays heartbreaks that should be honorable mentions, but not
Okay,
ranked.
so
What do you-
I mean,
so-
how are we like? I know.
No, hold on, just one sec. I was going to say, please tell me, because I'll tell you right now, I don't have any other ones on the list, because I think like I originally put Barrios, and I went, no, that's not
No,
heartbreak,
no,
that's
no, no.
anger,
Yeah.
you know?
No.
And then I went through and I was like, I didn't.
Buddy, game 2 against the Mariners in 2022 is not on your list. Like they were up.
They were up 8-1.
Yeah, it was 8-1. Say Oscar Hernandez had hit 2 home runs. They had Kevin Gossman on the mound. They lost the game in
guess
which
I was just so angry.
the center fielder was taken off on a cart
I'm
because he
parsing.
collided with Bo Bichette.
I'm parsing, but to me, it was just, I was so angry and upset and dismayed that it wasn't like I was heartbroken. I don't know. I just, that one, it didn't, I accept it on the list. I think it's definitely a good honorable mention. It's
I was on my honeymoon for that. Ruined my honeymoon.
Yeah.
If this is a very niche honorable mention.
Blue Jays?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
But one that came up in my mind when I was thinking about this. In 2021, which
Yeah.
I think is the best version.
Yes,
Simeon?
I was going to talk about 2021.
I think 2021 is the best version of this
Yeah. Of
Blue
course.
Jays.
Marcus
they were
Simeon.
unbelievable. That offense was great, and they were peaking at the right time. It was that Red Sox game against the Washington Nationals where the Jays had done their business. They killed the Orioles in 3 straight games. And then there was that game later in the afternoon where the crappy Nationals were up 5-2 going into the 7th inning or 6th inning. And I think the Red Sox scored 5 runs in the last 3 innings to go ahead and win that game and knocking the Jays out of the playoffs. And to me, that version, I think that team was going to win the World Series. You can't convince me otherwise.
don't
Like, they
know
were
if you-
peaking at the right. They were
100%.
so hot.
My-
Their offense was so
There's
incredible.
not a person
And it's
that was
like-
following that season that didn't think if the Jays get into the
Yes.
playoffs, they're going all the way to the World Series.
And it's just like I think back to that, like watching the last whatever years of this team, I'm like, God, that 2021. I always think about that 21
I mean,
team.
I don't know if you can do this as like retroactive heartbreak, but of course, like I go back to the Tigers game in that season where Marcus
my
Semien
God.
throws away out number 27. The Jays miss
Yeah.
the playoffs by one single game. Like in the
but he
moment,
also-
you're like, that was
but he also,
devastating.
what was he, like an 8-WAR player that game?
Yeah,
they
he hit
wouldn't
the
have won
most
8.
home runs by
No, I know.
any
That's why-
second baseman in,
I hate bringing it up.
baseball history.
To me, the moment of that season was
Yankees
the Garrett
series?
Cole. Yeah,
Yeah.
Garrett
Yeah.
Cole versus
Robbie
Robbie Ray.
Ray.
Hey, this
Yeah.
is it. This is for all the marbles. This is for the Cy Young
stunk.
and the playoffs. And then Robbie Ray stunk.
He stunk.
Mm.
Got
And it
lit
was
up.
basically nobody was sad when Robbie Ray left,
Because
flat
of
out
that.
because of that.
Yeah.
Like and like Gossman came in right away, and so it was basically the 2 guys. But Robbie Ray, it was kind of, hey man, thanks for the memories, but
Yeah.
pack your stuff.
See you, bud.
Yeah, you lost that game to the Yankees, and I don't think it was ever the same after that, because it was an awesome ride with Robbie Ray.
Yes.
and then the Yankees
out of nowhere.
Yeah, just
Like kind of a trade that people made fun of in the COVID season.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, you're going to get the guy with
walks
100
everyone?
walks
Yeah.
per 9. Okay, great. Congratulations.
Yeah.
It turned him into a Cy Young Award winner. Yeah.
so only 2 more on my honorable mentions list, then it's my top 5. So then we'll next one up. Marty Gellin scores in OT of Game 6 and 0-2. The Canes bounce the Leafs in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's the lowest scoring 6-game series ever.
Yeah.
The Leafs limp
Butcher
out of
fest.
there with 6 goals in 6 games and 3 overtime losses. That is my if young me could step into the studio right now, he'd be like, "You're such a liar," because
number one.
you were like, you couldn't get out of bed, like you were depressed, like you didn't know it, but you were.
And to have the moment
Yeah.
where Sundin ties it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Where
Yeah.
it's like they're down, they're out, it's over, and the puck lands on his stick, and he shovels it into the roof. Bonesy, what was it Bonesy's called? And he's like, dude, don't tell me about heart and determination. The crowd's going bananas. It's like, yeah, that is one of those like signature moments of my youth.
I sicko watched, like I went and YouTubed his sicko, and yes.
I remember working at the AMC theaters during that series and getting phone updates from my dad.
Phone updates.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, anyways, it came down to these final two, and and then the next one is Leafs blow 3-1 series lead to the Habs, and specifically the Alex Galchenyuk game.
Yeah, that was really bad. That was really bad, and I think that would be in my top 5 for sure.
It isn't in my top 5 just because I do think that when it was all over. And hey, all credit to Habs fans. I'm not listen, if the Leafs would have beat the Habs, I never would have let any of my buddies live it down. I'll take it until the day I die. I gave out so much crap when the Leafs were up in the series. Like this is not a discredit thing whatsoever. But when it was all said and done, that North and bubble and all the things, it didn't really feel legit.
No, the thing that we all told ourselves
Yeah.
in the moment, I think is probably true, that if you were going to have the greatest championship celebration in the history of this city, you'd probably not want it to happen in that season, right?
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's like it would have the whole 2 Stanley Cups take that I had at the time of you win the North and then you win a Stanley Cup and it's a double dipper. I don't think
that's a good take anymore.
I don't think so either. I think it would. I don't think it would have held up.
I think about in that series, Game 6 is what sticks out to me, where they tie it late. I think it was TJ Brody scored late, and then
Sandin with a turnover.
Dermott. And then they filled in the Habs for that first 10 minutes of that period. I think, what did Carey Price make? 12 saves in the first half of that? He was unbelievable. And they come down, Travis Dermott tries to spin around, it turns it over, and Kotkaniemi shoots it in the net.
Yeah.
Not like I remember.
I don't even like thinking about that part, though, because the actual more heartbreaking moment was to see Marner and Matthews be like, we tried our best.
And
we got lots of shots, you guys.
And then we subjected those poor nurses to the Game 7.
My God.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Those poor
Game
nurses.
6 was the first game with fans in attendance, right?
Yeah.
And then came back for Game 7.
Yeah, the Habs had them, and then we copied them.
Yeah.
We copied them. We would do that. Okay, so those are my own. Anything left off the... Because I think it's pretty clear there are 5 that I've got left in here that I'll do after the break. But is there any honorable mention that needs to be done?
Just because this year... Argos this year really stunk.
Well, yeah, but I was just trying to include ones that were more across the board that every single person would have felt.
Of.
But yeah, Argos for me personally. You and I, when we were sitting there, and
I was crushed.
Yeah, both. I've been to a lot of big games with you.
Yeah, that's just
neither of us talked.
No,
that's when I knew it was serious. It was just it wasn't talking, and then neither of us watched the Grey Cup because it was just too sour.
Sundin in Vancouver, to me, as a visual and the way that played out, sucked.
I cried for happiness tears though when he scored.
Well, yeah,
backhand
and you are a diehard Sundin guy. I'm a diehard Sundin guy.
Number one Leaf.
But he's my favorite hockey player of all time, next to Sid. I love Sundin. And the way it played out with the not waiving the trade at the deadline to stay with them, and then not signing all right away, and then going to Vancouver, and the way that the market treated him after that really sucked. And for me, I don't think it's a top 5 moment or top 5 heartbreaking thing, but it was the captain of the Leafs that had this weird maligned thing against him for a long time. Me too.
I will say though, now looking back, I'm glad because there was always rumors, hey, he could have been a Flyer, and they would have gotten Jeff Carter and picks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then the other one
was that Caberlet? Wasn't that Caberlet?
Yeah, that one was Caberlet.
Yeah.
Yes, but the other team that was rumored to be in with Sundin was Habs.
Remember that?
And
no thanks.
Thank God.
Thank God. Thank God.
Truly, thank God.
Gilmore in the Habs jersey is hard enough.
Dude,
it's Sundin in the Habs jersey. No thanks.
I think I would have had to not be a sports guy anymore.
Yeah.
In hindsight, that would have been so devastating for a Habs fan to have that and be able to put up images of him in that. Especially, do you remember when we were kids, the Sundin versus the Montreal goalie commercials?
Yes, it was the best.
Yeah, it was the best. That was
the Nike hockey when we were kids was the hottest thing in the world.
No, I couldn't have that. No. So anyways, retroactively, I had that one off. I thought about it.
Yeah.
I had it off, though, because he went to Vancouver, and it was he was away. And it didn't result in anything.
Except for him beating Vesatoskla backhand cheese aggressively.
Doing the move that he must have done in practice a billion times, and that they were like, this is exactly what he's going to do. And then he did it, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. I assume, 2015.
Yep.
Okay.
That's, right. No, I was like...
It's not on the list.
I don't know. I was like, it was Game 6, not Game 7.
It's not Game 7. No, it's very, very high. Okay, so no other honorable mentions?
I don't know. This is in my top. Yeah, it's in my top. So
yeah, okay.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, because I
think you guys will think it's an honorable mention, but it's in my top. So
I have 5 tops.
Okay.
Okay. It's time for the Mount Rushmore +1. because we're gonna. Yeah. Well, these are my 5 candidates, and we gotta chisel 4 in, and the other we're gonna leave off. So we went over Shohei, and it's in my top 5. Okay. I just have it here. I've explained myself, thinking that he was here, the elation of that feeling, the implication of having something known for this amount of time, what it would have done for my summers as someone who goes to a lot of Blue Jays games, what it would have done for this fan base in terms of finally getting off of this like horrible position of Blue Jays stink and I hate this team and I hate this front office and ownership and all this different stuff. It's like, no. Everyone would have been finally sports united on something, which would have just been happiness, a celebration, a real moment of optimism. And we would have known it would have lasted. And not only that, it's like, I do think that part of this one, and I know I said that the future or like the ripple effect wasn't there, and we don't know what the ripple effect of this is going to be as of right now. But what we have in front of us in terms of a trade market and free agent market and just how like bleak it does feel right now is difficult. Like, you know, I want to do other trade rumor people and, you know, like I want to have Robert Murray back on this week. And then I'm like, is it too soon to even...
my God.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Feinsand had a report today that they're one of the teams that is meeting with Yamamoto. I'm like afraid to talk about it.
I'm not doing this.
Cody Bellinger, there was the post of his fiance,
which was wrong.
What?
Which was posted was not right.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying.
I mean, she did post it, but yeah, it was not
the day of,
people doing some investigative reporting on.
But that's what I'm saying is Shohei Ohtani has broken my trust.
Yeah,
I don't know how I can ever trust again. Like I'm a broken person.
Can I break down where your disappointment, like where the majority of it is focused on? Because the Friday like Nightingale tweet was. Hugely disappointing, but there was still like for me hope going into Saturday. Like where does does that make it worse that like you had your heart broken 2 consecutive days? Or do you just view it as just one entity, the Friday and the Saturday? Because I view Friday very differently.
I did because deep down on Friday I still believed.
Of course,
yeah.
Like I did. I still believed. I was crushed. I was truly, truly devastated. So it's like. Looking back at it, Friday was the worst part because like it was, hey, he's not on the plane.
Yeah.
But yeah, Saturday I said, like McKee texted me something like, ugh. And I went and I said, it's just like.
No, I said, we're ruined.
Yeah, we're ruined. And I said, I had to go to Twitter to identify the body. You know, I had to pull.
He knew.
I had to, they called me and they pulled the blanket back and I started to weep into my mother's arms.
Yeah. We're ruined.
Yeah. So, and that's just it is like, there was so many elements of it. And I don't even view this part of it. Like, I'm not even angry. Like, I think it's people want to get upset about, like, you know, Heyman's position or others that are, like, trouncing on Toronto. And I'm going,
no, that's par for the course. Like, we've seen that before. And who didn't anticipate that, right?
That's what I'm saying. So,
like, that's not that. We're immune from that, aren't we, at this point?
But I will say that. No, but I will say that the added heartbreak element of all of this is that it's like, the whole world being like, you idiots thought it would happen for you, and all the naysayer Blue Jays fans that were there all along that didn't want to do it. And it's like, there's some people who still believe like this is all conspiracies, like that there wasn't even a Blue Jays push, and that is
so
like
you're just talking about me.
No. You don't believe that the offer was there from the Jays?
I haven't heard that theory that the Blue Jays never had. No, dude,
there was some that was like they knew way earlier, and it was like they were hoping to capture tickets.
God.
No, dude,
that's a good plan.
Even for tinfoil hat Timmy over here, I can't get behind that.
It's crazy. It's
no better way to foment good feelings in your fan base than to deceive them and then 24 hours later to pull the rug out from under them.
But like I said, but here's the thing though, is like I actually tried to engage some of these guys on Twitter. Like just a couple where I was like, let me try that, and then it's just like. You forget that there's never a person that's like, oh, right, actually. It's like whenever you engage that person, because your side of the argument's so obvious, you go like, yeah, here's the complete slam dunk, here's the open and shut case, and they're like, it's like, okay, well, yeah, forget it. Forget it. Okay, so Shohei not signing here. I have number 4 on the Mount Rushmore. Leafs lose up 4-1 to Boston in 2013. I think that this one is the most disrespected of all the Toronto heartbreaks, and I really sat with this for a long time. Because like I mentioned, if you really think about it, like the implications of everything, 0-2 against the Canes, and just, you know, the possibility of being able to get to a Stanley Cup final, that team being better, like Cujo, like knowing that you had a hot goalie, knowing who you lost to, how you lost, like, yeah, there's a case in terms of like what the stakes were. But I'll never forget.
This is by far number 1 for me.
Okay, yeah. So there you go.
I was surprised to see it this low, to be honest with you.
I have this one here because, this is the only time I ever sat on a dirty street.
Retrospective. Like, this feels like it retroactively putting it this low. because of the fact that
Well, I mean, it's
obviously
number
that
4.
core,
I have it on the Rushmore.
I know that core was obviously rotten. That like there needed to be changes, and it was like maybe for
It
the
set
ultimate
up this
best.
era of
Right.
hockey.
But yeah, like in the moment,
Yeah.
oh, it's over and it's all
But,
time
like, screw this era.
humiliating.
Like, screw this era. Like, yeah, like this one playoff win
Yeah,
was not
I mean,
worth the
not
feeling
like it
of
set
that
up like all
0-1.
these cups.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But either way, it's I told you, I'm trying to take out the future, and they get Matthews, and it all works out, right? Like, that was the most depressed.
Oh, my God.
I had to come into work the next day and cut clips.
Yeah, so did I. I was there with you.
And Sammy and I are sitting in there cutting these clips, cutting Jack Edwards with, some people who didn't love the Toronto Maple Leafs gleefully celebrating it in the building in your face. Man. Even thinking about it now, like when Kadri got his, and just thinking, oh, okay. Like, this is just the feeling of...
It was such a great off-the-pad rebound, just hammered it home, his big celly, and I was like, oh my God.
I was at a big sports bar full of people, and I will say, and still to this day, I regret it. I called my brother up 4-1, and
my mom called me, and I said, "Why are you calling?"
And my brother said, "What are you doing?" And he hung up the phone on me.
Oh yeah, so you were my mom.
I was your mom. Yeah. I got excited.
Oh, I definitely put my guard down. Like,
I did. I put my guard down. I did. I put my guard down.
And
I thought it was happening, and then then we know what happened. And
what are you looking for?
I have it as the third period shots were 17-6.
Yeah, it felt worse than that.
I know, but it was a...
Yeah, the last. I mean, as soon as they scored the second, you're like, oh, this is over.
Yeah. And then, oh my God.
Reimer just doing this in the net, like bringing his shoulders up for some reason.
Poor James.
Oh, it's never been, a more, I don't know.
That was dying to death, too.
Overtime wasn't terrifying because you were like, oh, you had almost accepted your fate.
But it was dying to death, truly.
Lupul had one chance in overtime where it was like in tight, and he tried to shovel upstairs, and that was it. And then they scored. Bergeron, dream haunter.
To me, it was, though, because it turned everybody against everybody, too. Like, again, I was at a packed sports bar, and it was all my closest Leaf friends. Like, everybody came in and was together for the moment. And I remember going to overtime and standing outside, because obviously everybody went out for hard depression darts, and like, it's over, and sitting on the sidewalk, and gloom. And I'll never forget, there was some guy that came out of the bar and started clapping and was like, come on, guys. Like, we were on the team, like we were in the dressing room, and being like, they're going to rally. It's not, game's not over yet. And I have never seen a group of animals just tear into this poor positive soul. The words that were said.
Oh, yeah.
Not allowed. Like, everything that was fired at that guy. Everyone pulled 2 barrels out and just was like, here, I'm going to unload all my angst and all my hate on this hockey team. Yeah, it was so crushing, man. And it still remains a joke, a punchline. It's the modern day 67, where it's just like Leafs up 4-1. Yep. It's the chant in your face.
I don't know how you don't have this number 1.
Because I think you'll see. I just have this as there.
Okay.
And by the way, I actually should say that I didn't originally have this in a particular order. I'm reading it from the bottom up. But and so
you would rank that 4 then?
I actually would rank it 3.
Okay. What's next?
The next one is what I have as 4, which is Kawhi leaving in 2019.
Yeah, that's there for me, of course.
I just can't separate the fact that he gave us so much with that
and
run.
It was so like closely tied. Like, it would, like the time of celebration was not yet over, right?
Yeah.
So you were still kind of in, it was like, oh man, could it get any better?
Yeah.
And Jalen Rose like, yeah, it can.
Yeah, those are the elements.
It kind of ruined the summer.
Yeah, it did. It changed it.
It changed the
It ended it.
Exactly.
It just ended the summer. The summer ended that night when Kawhi signed with the Clippers.
100%.
It was just like the courting of him. Remember the plant guy who gave his plant and cried, and just the Kawhi and dine, and every part of the summer, the championship celebration, the way that the city came out in droves for Kawhi, the helicopter chase. Like, it really felt like we made him fall in love with this place. Yeah. And then when he went to LA, it was just you never felt anything for us at all.
Yeah, exactly.
And that
to me, that's why it's worse than Ohtani, because you had the taste. You know how good they would have been. They would have maybe repeated the next year. Yeah. It's like, that's for me, it's like having the taste of it. Is way, like, I think for me it's way worse than Ohtani.
If this isn't enough to bring you back, like, what chance do we ever have?
That's
right?
exactly
like
it.
Oh my God. And you don't have to like do a 1-and-1, like give us a short-term commitment. Let's just do it a year at a time. He wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, I think too the day, the helicopter chase day, Jalen Rose also had a tweet.
Yeah.
And it was he's hearing, it was something like in 90%.
No, yeah, I thought it was 99%. Yeah.
Too soon. I think it was definitely a heartbreaking moment, and I really had a tough time getting over it. It just, the championship, you got a championship.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's complicated. It's like either the championship actually makes you feel worse about him leaving because you knew he could do it, or
and
it
they were
makes you
the
feel a little
exact
bit more
same team the
comfortable.
next season, and they would have been just as good, and they probably would, but it would have been
him going to the Jays game.
Championship, so it probably wouldn't have counted anyway. But still,
no, but it would have counted if it was back to back.
100%.
Back to back would have validated it more.
That's right.
Yeah, it's true. It's just the way I feel about it. Number 2, Game 6, 2015 Blue Jays.
Yes, this is number 2.
The Amish fan.
Oh, it's strike 2 to Revere.
No. I'm going through everything that
I
happened.
don't even think about the Amish guy.
Well, you should, because that was early on in the
didn't
game.
matter.
Dude, first of all, it starts off with Ben Zobrist hitting a bomb. And he's the guy that they were so horny for. They were like, everybody loves Ben Zobrist. He's the guy, he hits a bomb. Then I think it was Moustakas that hit that home run. That was the Amish stealing one. But if you remember, it's like, and this is why this is number 2, is because it was just like everything colliding for the perfect storm of pain. Yeah, I think it was Verducci and Reynolds that were calling that game. And when they were watching it on the broadcast, they were like, it's coming back. Like, this is coming back. They were convinced. We were convinced. And then they went, no, it's not. And then that liar kid lied to a nation, 2 nations, lied to the world. And boldface lied to the world. I was sitting there like, I just apoplectic about it.
The worst part about that is during this bull crap interview that no one cared about in Canada, Jose Bautista hit one of the most majestic home runs of all time, where he hit like over the fountains.
But this is the other part of it. Bautista has a game that would have rivaled the bat flip, just in terms of what it was in that, like him hitting that bomb to tie it up.
In the timing, like with the rains coming
with
and
the rain
them
coming
not
in.
wanting to go to Wade Davis to waste what was at that time the most dominant reliever in all of baseball, and Ryan Madsen having an incredible season as well.
But he was always shaky, Madsen.
To force Wade Davis into that game in that moment, and then thinking, oh, they've wasted him. Yeah. They've wasted Wade Davis. There's no way he can go away for an hour and then come back into this game.
So that's what I mean. So the belief that Wade Davis wasn't going to come back. The part of this game that people forget is the Bautista cutoff throw.
I was going to mention that. That like Roberto Osuna didn't do a ton wrong there. He gave up 1 single and a walk.
Yep.
And Jose Bautista, I will go to my grave not believing that he did anything wrong either, right? Like he does. I mean, it was just incredible scouting. Is incredible scouting, advanced scouting by the Kansas City Royals, but like one of the more underrated, you're right, aspects of that game, that it was like an innocuous play to score from first on a single.
That was it. And so the way that it transpired, and then obviously the top of the 9th, which is, the Jays load the bases, and then Navarro strikes out. And by the way, I think that the Jays, the probability of when you have the bases loaded, no outs, is the expected runs is 1.5. Mm-hmm. And then even still, when the Jays had
2 on, by the way.
Yeah, sorry.
Second and third.
Yeah, sorry. Second and third, no outs. But they've got second and third, no outs. That expected run probability is 1.5. Then the Revere at bat happens. The horrific call. Mm-hmm. The probability dropped from 50% Jays winning to 19% Jays winning based on that. Mm-hmm. And so, that's my number 2. That's the most heartbreaking game that I have on this list.
Yeah. I think 4-1 still worse, but that's second.
Yeah, it's tough because it's still a game 6. But no, in the moment,
I just think this team was special, and we love this team.
Of course.
We love this team so much that we love them way more than that Leafs group. You know, the 2013 Leafs were just oh my god!
And it was such a build, right? Yeah. I mean, starting in August of that year, all the way to the end of the season, there was nothing. I've never experienced a regular season month and a half like we saw for that team, and then it just carried over into the bat flip, and oh my god,
we thought that there was going to be a World Series team
for sure.
Like that's it. It's like 2013 didn't have that. That's why I have it higher. And then number 1 for me is the Vince trade in 04. You got Aaron and Eric Williams plus Alonzo Mourning, who we already knew wasn't going to come here, 2 firsts. It was the most lopsided trade I could ever remember in my lifetime. But it wasn't just that. It was like Alonzo goes on to the Eastern Conference Final in Miami. He cheats his way there and then ends up getting a championship. But Vince Carter he made basketball in this country. Like, he was our superstar. He was our supernova. He was our everything. And, even listening lately about how former players feel about Vince, and how they felt about him in the moment was reminding me of the way that it was. And just like he validated Toronto, right? We were the purple dinosaur, nothing embarrassments before Vince Carter. And then all of a sudden he was here and it was the greatest basketball player on earth. It was the guy that got voted number 1 in the All-Star games.
Oh,
he was the point of pride.
Side?
Yeah, he was the point of pride. And then to make sure that he killed his Toronto legacy, but then that they got a trade package back that even at the time
was horrible,
was disgusting, deplorable, embarrassing. Go on down the list of the way that you described this thing. It felt like that was the day the Toronto Raptors died, and that being a sports fan of that team was just an impossibility moving forward. So I don't know. Maybe I have that one too high. I just like the implications of that at the time. It's like, and yet, dude, if you look at it, it's like it sent the Raptors into oblivion for.
I have. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say the only thing
years.
that tamps it down for me is that it was building, right? It's not like it was out of nowhere that he would be traded from Toronto at the time, right? Like that's the thing.
Yeah,
there was
but
no
once you
surprise
saw
element.
the trade package too.
Yeah, that was horrible.
So
we were like, who are these guys? And people were like, don't worry, Eric Williams, he's pretty good actually. He's underrated.
I have to mention this quickly. I know we got to go, but David Ayers is in my top 5. David Ayers will always be in my top 5.
For me, it's a number 1 gambling moment,
No,
heartbreak, because I got the Leafs at like plus 600 when they were down 4-1 in that game, and David Ayers is about to enter it.
They lost to
if
their
we were doing
team
most
employee.
embarrassing,
but that was
sports
heartbreak.
moments,
I was in the building for that. It's the darkest. Like it's right there in Leafs moments of 4-1 to me. It was one of the darkest
season thing.
It was, buddy.
Yeah.
He went on the Tonight Show. He toured around. He was an employee of the team who drove the Zamboni, and they lost to him. That's always be in my top 5.
Was that the last game before the deadline, too? Because I remember us doing an NHL trade
it was
deadline
either
show.
that or one more. Very obvious.
Yeah, so
and it painted the entire deadline, and they were like, not only are they not adding, they're like taking calls on Tyson Barrie.
But
you could have yourselves a Tyson Barrie.
But I said from the list for David Ayers.
Not sure. We'll have to have more time to think about it. But David Ayers will always be there for me.
Vince,
it's not on the list.
Vince,
for me, it is 100%.
Vince, Game 6, Kawhi, Leafs up 4-1. Shohei not signing.
I guess
off?
I'd probably bump off Shohei, but it's 6.
And for me, I don't know because there's not.
Shohei 6 over David Ayers. You're going to say that? Yeah. Okay.
Well,
to me,
he was never
ever
listen.
2013 is my personal.
He's getting paid $2 a year to play for the Dodgers. Yeah. Okay, he wasn't coming here. Okay, so the Toronto Maple Leafs losing to a team employee in a NHL game is worse than that to me.
That was most embarrassing. Most heartbreaking. I can't say is I wasn't heartbroken. I wasn't waking up in the morning being like, how am I going to go to work?
No, you're like, this team is
these guys are losers.
We thought they were.
Anyways,
you have 2013 above those. Anything I have on that list?
Yeah.
But what are you going to bump out? This is my question. Is so you're bumping out Vince, you're bumping out Game 6, you're bumping out Kawhi, you're bumping out Leafs.
I think I might bump out Vince.
Vince.
Yeah,
Vince
I might.
I'm
just talking about personally.
Vince is not number 1. But,
I might knock out Vince for me. Again, it was, the return was obviously horrible, and it was a horrific.
See, this is how I know you guys weren't true basketball fans at the time.
I'm not bumping out Vince.
Yeah, Vince.
I think Vince is one of my favorite athletes. He was right there with Mats. I loved him so much, but it's not number 1 for me.
Yeah.